Hello and welcome to this episode of Akrinos Access. I'm your host, Eric Matei, joined today with the one and only Ukti Vora, the Nerdy Optometrist, is back here at Akrinos Access. This is episode 2 of a 2-part series that Ukti is joining us here at Akrinos Access because, y'all, we are talking about the world of technology and modern optometry. And we're talking about all those things that everyone's afraid of, right? AI, tech, the robots, and Ukti is helping us understand that we are not to fear. If anything, we really need to embrace the opportunity. And that's really what this episode is all about today, where we're talking technology and your practice, tips for modern ODs. So look, if you missed episode 1, go back and listen to episode 1, because that's where Ukti really kind of puts the stuff in context. Help us understand truly where have all these technological advances been with regard to patient care and clinical experience, with regard to office workflows, marketing and engagement. So be sure you catch episode 1 to set us up for this one, because now is where it all comes together. And Ukti Vora, the Nerdy Optometrist, is going to help us understand how can we implement this stuff in our practices. So, Ukti, thank you so much. Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to continue our conversation in this second part series. And of course, I can go on because I love talking about this topic, but we'll see. There could be a part 3 as well. But for now,
who knows? Okay, so, let's now look at this and let's talk about stakeholder benefits for a little bit, right? And let's talk about the impact of technology to patients and really the impact to patients both today in the short term, but also if we look at this impacts to the patients over the lifetime of their engagement with the practice.
Yeah, so if I'm looking at a short-term benefit or impact for the patient, I think one big thing that we should try to focus on is having a patient-centric practice. This is a term which I really like. Patient-centric is ideally our healthcare system for years has been a very practice-centric, where the patient has to go to the hospital, patient has to go to a clinic, the patient will go everywhere. But now these things have shifted and become more patient-centric, where things come to a patient, whether it's a telehealth solution, or pharmacy sending drugs to their house, or nurses coming home and doing some testing, having home testing devices to tell you what your baseline health records are. So now we need to start thinking on how can we make patient in the center of this healthcare system. And I feel making your practice patient-centric will definitely enhance their experience and help you set yourself apart from the other competition that's there. So, and how do you make it patient-centric? Would be by one single word: efficiency, and making it easy. Anyone, whether it's patient or yourself, we deal with 1 million things. And if I have any problem, whether it's eye care or simple fever or a headache, I dread to go to a doctor because I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to go through that process for an hour. If I can make that 1 hour of your patient's time into 45 minutes, save that 15 minutes, that is the value or the impact I want to provide to my patient. It could be 15 minutes for that patient, but they will appreciate and be loyal to you for a very long time. That 15 minutes translates to a huge value for your practice, because now 15 minutes saved for 4 patients means you can add 1 more patient. So you are adding more patients into your calendar, and you're saving that patient's time and making them feel like, oh, this was breeze, it's in and out, I'll do this. I don't want the patient to think, oh my God, going to an eye doctor means wasting 45 minutes plus travel. It feels like, oh yeah, I can just be in and out. That's the experience I'm looking for. And I think that is where technology comes very handy, where they have options to set things up even before stepping into your practice, whether it is selecting frames through virtual try-ons, narrowing down options like, hey, I know I'm coming to pick glasses. I have access to your your online optical service. I can check it out. I can try them on. I know these are 3 options that I like. My whole family has selected it for me. Now I'll just come try and finalize it. That has saved 30 minutes, I think, for your opticians, for yourself, for your patient. I know what, like, you have all my updates of what I'm feeling for, with my eyes today. And then I come in, just focused on the exam that needs to be done and be out. I think that would be like the near future impact on your patient care by adding technology.
Outstanding. I mean, it's really, there's a couple things that you brought up there. I think for starters, this takeaway of being patient centric, which means the patient is at the center of everything, not the practice, not the office manager, not the optician. No, the patient is at the center of everything. And as it were, when we start thinking about the benefits to them, what are they looking for? I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head, Ukti, as it pertains to the convenience and ease of accessing care, right? Let's face it, when we look at a lot of these different environments, particularly, you're looking at, these models of practice in retail locations, in big box locations, a lot of that is driven by convenience, right? So
Yeah.
then we got to think, well, man, that brick and mortar private practice had that same level of convenience of the experience. Oh my goodness, what would that look like, right? Um, so you mentioned the convenience thing, and I think something also that would be, perhaps we could find some research on it somewhere. I know you were talking a moment ago about research, not that we'd be able to access it right now, but it would be fascinating to consider on how the patient experience in the doctor's office impacts compliance and outcomes, right? So if we think about that patient who has a smooth, convenient, fulfilling, uplifting experience when going to the doctor, what is their compliance with their treatment plan compared to one that maybe had to wait around, right? Or have other things that they're kind of like just is not making it the best experience, where perhaps they are non-compliant because they have a grudge against their experience, right? Like opposed to realizing like this is your health. But nonetheless, I think all these things play into it, right? The patient
Yeah.
experience impacting how they interact with the business and thus how the business can perform over time, but also how that patient experience in the office is also going to impact their compliance and outcomes outside of the office. So now let's shift gears and look at this through the practice lens. So thinking of how some of this tech, deploying this tech, this innovation in the office can impact the practice. Similarly, both short term in the immediate, but also long term over the lifespan of the business.
So I think one thing that I actually wanted to go back a little bit on the patient side of the thing, because we spoke about like the short term. I didn't really cover the long term benefit,
Oh,
which you nicely touched on, the compliance. I think the one other thing that I really wanted to highlight here long term is we can actually provide much more than what services we are competing with outside. Say you're competing with Warby Parker, for example, for your glasses in retail, but in your practice you can provide them dry eye services with so much new technology that's available. You can provide them with myopia management for their kids. If you're able to serve the kids, you're serving the entire family. If you are with convenience adding value to them, they know that there is an expert I can talk to if I have a problem. I cannot talk to someone on a portal online and I don't even know if that person is an expert in this thing. So I feel long term, apart from trust, if you're adding more technology into your practice, your patient will also be looking forward to it, like, oh yeah, myopia management, my doctor has this. Oh, dry eye, yes, my doctor has it. So when they see things online and then they see it in your practice, they'll feel this is a holistic place where I can get all my eye care needs taken care of versus trying to look for solutions outside, which might be cheaper, but do they really trust it? We don't know.
yeah, and it ties back to something also that we've touched on here, and that is differentiating the practice, right?
Yes.
Differentiating the practice on that experience, and also if we consider, you know, tying your practice as being the source and yourself as the expert in all things eye care for that patient. So again, it's that holistic patient journey. And I love how you were also mentioning regarding the importance of early adoption, because inevitably when folks do hear about it, if they see that you were a provider that was a part of it, it definitely steps you up, I believe, a few rungs of the ladder as it pertains to, the quality of the services you're providing. And again, a differentiated experience. So Ukti, now let's look at this. And getting back to something we had touched on in episode 1, which, by the way, y'all, if you missed episode 1, go back and check it out, because Ukti actually rolls out kind of what the fully digitized modern optometry workflow looks like. And Ukti, I'd like to now kind of revisit that a little bit, and particularly looking at it through the lens of standard of care, right? The different types of patient visits, right? So we have a primary care comprehensive exam, but then we may also have dry eye and a medical, what have you. And then lastly, kind of in that optical kind of retail piece. So I'd love to hear you kind of unpack these digital workflows, these digital experiences in different patient types, and then in that optical retail component.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about, say, when you're talking about a primary eye care practice, right? So that is a practice where I feel today we have an amazing array of products that are available that people can incorporate into their practice. So whether, in the last episode I mentioned, definitely having a digital EMR, EHR system that helps you not just collect the patient's information, but also helps you as a basic communicating tool, if not more. I think that is something that's really important. Second, you definitely need to try and invest in technology in terms of devices that can do multiple tests in one device. That way, the patient does not feel exhausted. You can also consider wearable devices, things which are more headset based, say for checking your visual fields or testing your contrast and colors. There are so many wearable devices that are available. I think incorporating some of those can also help fit into that smaller practice, but making look more modern. And then after the patient care, during the patient care, you definitely want to make sure you have at least some form of data management platform that can help you see everything together. And then spend time on in explaining things to the patient, just so that now you have everything on one screen. It's easier to communicate and educate them. And then, be able to reach out to them, follow up, and be able to continue your conversation if you also have the retail side of your practice to help them, make easy decisions for their glasses and contact lens purchase. The second segment about the specialty care, if you fall under that piece, I feel again now there are a lot of technologies like Ilteris AI or Falcom who are great devices along with these AI applications. So you can have your TopCon device which can take fundus image or like an OCT image, and then you can have these applications that can show some lot of information using AI algorithms, which helps you not just treat better but also educate your patient better and make them more compliant. So you are saving time, you are showing the patient the value that you're bringing in by using these technologies, and making sure that you are communicating with them, and they add more confidence when they are interacting with you. Like, oh yeah, this I won't be able to like Google it, for example, or like just be able to be like, yeah, this is what the doctor said. Sometimes I feel that as much as we are scared of AI or tools that are like AI focused, showing them that you are also incorporating it, though you already know that, you have already diagnosed it, but having a visual representation for your patient can help them better understand. You saw some hemorrhages, you saw some changes in the retina, you have studied for like 5 years to know what that is, but that color representation in a report that an AI can throw in and be like, hey, these are your areas of problem, that can actually be like your friend who is supporting you and pushing that information to your patients to make it more compliant. For myopia management, there are different tools and devices that help you graph the changes. So it's not just you asking your patients to wear some lenses or putting drops. You can actually use these different devices which are specifically for myopia management, that can also be used for patient education to see those changes over a period of time. So having a practice, having these devices in your practice can really help you not just build that patient confidence, but also they like to be more involved in these treatments, and that's how it's going to build trust and make sure that it's a win-win for both your patient and yourself as a practice.
It's fascinating how you were mentioning there these different use cases of the technology, and particularly the AI. And you were mentioning how it can help with the imaging to communicate with the patient. And I think that patient communication piece is so big in every, I mean, if we really truly think about every facet of that patient journey, from a patient understanding what their diagnosis is, to a patient understanding their treatment plan, understanding the importance of compliance with the treatment plan. If the treatment plan includes some sort of retail optical contact lenses, the communication for that patient to then go through the purchasing journey with the practice. Communication, I mean, it's such a powerful piece. And when we think of how the technology can close that communication gap for us, amazing things happen.
And actually, I think we, as eye care industry, until now, I would say, not anymore. I know there's a lot of technology being built around it. Underestimate the power of an eye scan. When I take an eye scan or when I see through the eye, I know that I can diagnose diabetes, blood pressure. Now with AI, I can learn a lot more. And like companies like Google have announced it in like 2008, if I'm not wrong. They're trying to build some algorithm since then that can tell you like risks of cardiovascular changes, risk for your neurological changes, for your kidney problems. And there are companies now that can tell you what your biological age versus your where your health stands today, like your real age versus how your body is reacting to it, just through a simple scan. That's the power of AI and technology. So when you are taking a fundus image, you are able to figure out, oh, the patient has early signs of diabetic retinopathy. He's never been diagnosed with diabetes. You send them to a primary care, so on and so forth. Imagine you have these AI tools that can not just tell you about your eye problem, but now you talk to patient about their lifestyle, about other things that they can take care of along with the eye care. That will build so much of credibility, and they will start valuing eyes and their eye doctor much more. So I think we should start understanding the value that we can bring in through all the technology that we have around eyes, because we are one of those specialities who capture lot of data. Lots of data is being captured for one eye exam, from AR to like fundus imaging to OCTs to visual fields to topographies. Like we collect so much of data, and that can mean so much more when we start putting technology on top of it.
Absolutely fascinating stuff. So I think to that end, and also actually before jumping into the next question here, to build on that, Ukti, I recently had the pleasure of meeting the CEO of a tech startup here in our industry. He is not from our industry, so he's kind of getting a crash course. And I'm one of the people that getting the opportunity to give him a crash course in it. But as such, specifically talking about how much can be caught in a comprehensive eye exam, how much can be caught with fundus imaging, how much can be caught. I mean, and that's where I look at, Ukti, people in my personal life ask me all the time, Eric, what's it like working with optometrists? Like, why do you really focus in optometry? But they don't understand this bigger picture. I believe optometry is the future of primary healthcare. Like, never mind just eye exams. I'm talking like where you go to an optometrist to understand what the heck is going on with you with so many different conditions. Because to your point, we are so far ahead as an industry. The data that's being gathered for a comprehensive eye exam, much less any sort of medical pathology need, but that data and how we're able to capture the data, the imaging, it, oh my gosh. I mean, it's absolutely outstanding. So I just had to toss that out there because it's really fascinating how, again, you're speaking to these broader functions that eye care plays and how it's really this remarkable opportunity right now for doctors of optometry to accelerate their role in healthcare, but you're not going to do it running the practice like it's something out of 1995.
Yeah.
So now, is that fair enough? Right? I mean,
Yeah.
And by the way, the 90s were great. Like,
I agree.
absolutely. I graduated from high school in 2000. So like the late 90s were my heyday, coming of age, right? So that being said, Ukti, all this to build up the opportunity for our listeners out there that are like, look, I've listened to these last 2 episodes. Eric having Ukti, Nerdy Optometrist on Akrinos Access. We've been talking technology and people are like hungry. So where to start? How can our listeners identify the opportunity in their practice?
Great question, and I love to talk about this. So first, of course, there are tons and tons of technology. Eventually, your goal should be to incorporate all that is suitable for your practice. And I'm taking some learnings from you that we did in my episode in the podcast. It's what your mission, vision, and purpose is. I think that's very important for you to kind of understand as a practice where you want to go. But to identify, okay, there are like hundreds of technologies out there in every case, whether it is like collecting information or like, doing testing, seeing information, selling glasses, contact lenses. You have it all. Where do you start? I think if you have all your basics covered, as I had mentioned, what the mandatory requirements are, like making sure your clinic is basically digitalized as much as possible, then would come in the next step is identifying which technology will have the highest impact for your patient in your practice. And how can you do that? One, on the patient side, listen to your patient. What are they asking for? What are the bottlenecks? Is it the wait time? Is it the inconvenience to book an appointment? Is it the inconvenience to get glasses here? All right, like give them a small survey while they are in the waiting room, doing nothing, waiting for you to see them. See if they are able to answer those 2 or 3 questions, like what new technology would you like to see in my practice, like a notification that can help you or virtual try on our website, like just ask them, hear what they are trying to get from your practice. And trust me, patients love to share if they know someone is listening to them. So yes, see how you can involve your patients a lot more into your practice. And also in the meantime, you can also have like a small, I know one of the practices have like a testimonial corner where they're like, hey, we have an Instagram page. If you like the service, do you want to share your feedback? Everybody likes some attention beyond like eye exams. You can make your eye clinic or eye exam fun if you feature them on social media. If they are social media friendly, they would love to be there and be featured and get that attention and care. So go an extra mile. So if they are giving you feedback, give them that extra attention as well. I think that would be on the patient side. On the practice side, it's also important to understand what your staff requires. You would be needing like an AI tool that can help you with better decision making. But that comes much later. What if there are bottlenecks in terms of just collecting that clinical data? If there are like 4 devices and they are very cumbersome, and your technician feels like, oh my God, I wish there are these devices which can do 3 tests in one. I would just like to do that in one go versus having 3. Think about technologies that can help your staff and minimize those bottlenecks. And while you're taking care of your patient and your staff, see if it is helping your bottom line and how is it improving your revenue. And try to add 1 technology or maybe 2 at a time, just so that it gives you enough time to assess what's working for your practice and what's not. Don't go all in, because sometimes, well, you might make right decisions and that's genius. Or if you have a coach like Akrinos, they might guide you and you're all good. But if you're trying to do it DIY, I would say go one step at a time. Try to learn from others, try to experiment, and you can always ask companies to give you for a solution for a 15-day trial period or a 1 month trial period. But make sure your patients are asking for it, and even your team or your staff is on board with it. Don't bring a solution which everybody hates and you have paid like thousands of dollars for it just because you felt it's like a cool AI tool, and they're like, what the hell is this? I don't care about it. I'm not paying for this. And I think it's also very important to have uh, everything with that's new. Some people are of a mindset, oh wow, it's a new device, new technology, I want to use it. But you can also have other half of your patients or your staff like, oh my god, one more thing to learn. So make sure people are on board. Have a team leader who is ready to be the tech guru who is being trained. The companies where you take these technologies from will have assets to train your staff, will have assets to train your patient, educate them so they don't feel it's overwhelming. Make sure they both are on board before adding those 100 solutions that are out there. And always I personally feel, go a little slow just so that you have enough time to assess, but don't be so slow that you take years just adding one solution to your practice. So try to keep that balance.
That is you shared so many really, really powerful insights there, Ukti. And I tell you though that the theme that continued, and I really want to remind all of our listeners out there to really take this to heart. Listen to your patients and listen to your people. Don't make the decision simply going into a community and asking a question, waiting for people in any town in America to tell you what you should be doing. Don't wait until you go to the show or go to the dinner for the reps to buy you a nice dinner and say, okay, now it's time to sign, right?
Yeah.
And look, not saying that there isn't good insights you can get from communities, and not saying there's not great things and reps there or doing great things. It's not saying that at all. But to really make the point, why are you making the decision and who is it serving? Keep all of these decisions practice centric, patient centric, people centric. Keep your decisions for your business stakeholder centric to your stakeholders, which is your patients, your staff, and your bottom line. So I really love how you kept that at the core of everything you touched on, Ukti, right? Because you were talking about assess the bottlenecks. See where your staff is really miserable. What are the things that you're asking your team to do that has them wanting to call in sick for work, right? Like, let's think about the workflows we're asking them to do. Similarly, think about that patient experience. You know, what type of experience do they want through that practice? So really, really powerful insights there to help guide doctors through identifying the opportunity. And then something else you said is be proactive, but also be very intentional when you're going to do it. So don't go all in and say, just set up a bunch of things. Why? Because it's hard to monitor exactly what's driving change if we got all these things change at a time. So we want to change one or two things at a time. Like, it's no different from, hey, we have that glaucoma patient, pressures are out of control. Okay, let's maybe change one thing. Don't go changing their whole battery of the full treatment plan. We want to change things incrementally to figure out what truly is going to drive that change. So implementing these tech changes piecemeal so that you can monitor that feedback loop to see if it's benefiting your practice. If it's
Yeah.
benefiting your practice, keep it around. If it ain't benefiting your practice, what are you waiting for? Kick it to the curb. Something else you mentioned also that I think should be of note is the infrastructure that your vendors, that your partners in your practice, the infrastructure they should be providing you. And I think we've all seen it. I mean, Ukti, I know you work with one of the most amazing tech-forward companies in the industry. As you know, at Akrinos, we work with amazing companies across the board. And I got to say, truly, companies that are there to serve you, they're going to have the training resources. They're going to have that infrastructure to support you and your team for a successful deploy in your practice. No doubt about it.
Also,
Wow,
one
what an
quick
episode. Yes,
thing
ma'am.
I would like to add is attend trade shows, because that's one place where you'll be able to see all these technologies under one roof, get as many demos or trials as you want, and you're not obligated, right? To kind of, and maybe take your staff along with you who can help you say, like, hey, this is very cool. You might not be thinking what's helping your practice at the front desk. You are thinking what's going to help you make a better clinical decision. But maybe your chief of staff or your team member who is, like, overlooking everything, might be able to make you a better decision, to make your staff's life easy as well as your patient's life easy. And that one tool or that one solution can be more rewarding than adding maybe a major tool in your practice for, for making your life convenient. You never know. So I would say try to go to these trade shows like Vision Expos and AAOs, just so that you can see all these solutions going live, and that's where all the companies are going to put their best foot forward. So why not, make the most of it?
Absolutely. Yes. Get out there and support and get involved and go to optometry's meeting, y'all. And if you're heading to optometry's meeting, come by the Akrinos booth. Absolutely. But to your point, Ukti, get involved in the industry. Be proactive. Be a part of the industry. Be a part of the profession. Don't sit on the sidelines and let other people call the shots. Be proactive. Look at your business, interact with your patients, interact with your people, be observant, identify these bottlenecks, identify where the journey is fragmented or difficult, and be proactive to deploy technology to bridge those gaps.
Yeah.
Ukti Vora, this has been an absolutely, I don't know what to say more, insightful, fun, engaging, but this has been a really great two-part series that you've joined us, right? Talking about technology and optometry. And, in this particular episode, talking about technology and your practice, where you provided tips for modern ODs who want to make it happen in their practice. So, Ukti Vora, before we sign off, I know you got some exciting episodes on the horizon. You're always putting out great content in Nerdy Optometrist. How can folks get in touch with you if they want to continue this conversation, and certainly subscribe to the podcast and all that good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely subscribe to my podcast. I'm also interacting with a lot of people within the industry, and we're talking a lot about technology and AI on my platform. So more than happy if you would like to, learn and listen more to that. But you can always reach out to me at nerdyoptometrist.com through the portal, to the website, on LinkedIn, or you can just email me at nerdyoptometrist@gmail.com. So just shoot me a message, say hi, and let's talk about any questions that you have regarding technology that you are thinking to incorporate, would like to incorporate in your practice, or you always have Eric who provides these services with a lot of expertise. So it's either me or Eric. You can always reach out to both of us, and we'll be happy to support you.
We got you covered. Yes, indeed. Well, Ukti Vora, again, on behalf of thank you so much for joining us in this two-part series on Akrinos Access, talking about the world of technology. And look, to our viewers out there, the future is bright for private practice eye care. I mean, we're looking at this ever-growing public health need for the services that doctors of optometry provide. We're looking at this expanding scope of modern optometry. There's never been a better time to jump into practice ownership. So if you want to learn more, head on over to akrinos.com. And wherever you are in that journey, whether you're a cold starter practice, buying a practice, growing your practice, or looking to transition your practice, we here at Akrinos wish you all the best. Ukti, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.